Hey there, this is Kenneth Moore, and you're now watching Zion's Watchman Media. Okay, everybody, so in this week's video, we are going to be talking about an ancient city, the ancient city of Babylon. So, who was Babylon? Babylon was one of the first cities of the world, believed by many to have been founded by Nimrod, the great-grandson of Noah. This city grew over the ages and reached its peak under the rulership of King Nebuchadnezzar II, who was not only a powerful king but also a mighty builder. He was the one who built the famous Hanging Gardens, which made Babylon one of the ancient wonders of the world. This city, Babylon, also had a very powerful wall, said to have been 350 feet high and 87 feet thick. It is said of these walls that you could actually take chariots and race on top of them. The city Babylon was built in a perfect square, 60 miles in circumference, 15 miles being on each side, and was surrounded by a moat of water. And to top it all off, it actually had the Euphrates River running right through it. If you look at the Babylonian Ishtar Gate, which is said to have been the main entrance to the city, you will find there beautiful engravings of lions, bulls, and dragons. Truly, this city from an earthly standpoint was spectacular, whose glory has never since been reached. But along with all of this greatness came a great pride. And you see, this was Babylon's problem. She had a pride that refused to acknowledge the supremacy of heaven and rebelliously defied God's law until it led to her ultimate downfall. And what is so fascinating about this mighty city is that it was prophesied in the Bible over 150 years before how it would fall, and mentions by name the individual who would accomplish this work. And we read about this in Isaiah chapters 44 and 45, which say, "That saith to the deep, Be dry, and I will dry up thy rivers. That saith of Cyrus, He is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying to Jerusalem, Thou shalt be built, and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid. Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings, to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gates shall not be shut." Okay, so what actually happened historically? Well, there came along a Persian general by the name of Cyrus, who some say means the sun. History better knows him as Cyrus the Great. This man came along and laid siege to Babylon, but Cyrus had a problem here. You see, this city Babylon was so well fortified that from every human viewpoint it looked virtually impregnable. It is said that the Babylonians had enough provisions or food in their city to last them up to 20 years, and had space to even grow more food. They had the Euphrates River running right through them and their high lofty walls. A siege to the Babylonians seemed laughable to them. "I sit as a queen and shall see no sorrow," she said. Cyrus had to get around this, so what he couldn't accomplish with force he did with strategy. And knowing that a huge festival was coming up and that the Babylonians would be caught up in their festivities, he came up with a plan. On the night of their festival, he gave orders to 3 groups of soldiers. The first group was to go a short distance from the city and to intercept the course of the Euphrates River and to turn it into a nearby basin, or to redirect it into a nearby basin. The second group was to go near the entrance of the city where the river entered into the city, and the third group was to stand where the river exited out of the city. And once the Euphrates River had been redirected and the waters lowered, the last 2 groups were to go and invade the city. Thus, as the prophecy said, the waters were dried up. But it goes even further. You see, Babylon had high walls on each side of the riverbed blocking entrance into the city, and these walls had huge gates of brass on them. But it just so happened on the night of their wild festivities and drunkenness that the gates had been left open, a fatal move on the part of the Babylonians. So, as the prophecy said, Babylon's gates were left open. That night, Cyrus conquered Babylon and later went on to become ruler of the empire in 536 BC. It is also worth mentioning that Cyrus was the one who issued the famous decree for the Jews to return out of their captivity from Babylon to go back to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Thus, as the prophecy said, Cyrus rebuilt the temple. This story contains a very beautiful symbolism within it, for in the world today there is a system which the Bible in the book of Revelation terms Babylon, a proud system of false worship that defies the authority of heaven and rejects the law of God. But soon all of this will change. For just as the ancient Euphrates River dried up on the night of Babylon's fall, so will the modern rivers, or the modern support system of modern Babylon, be dried up before its destruction as well. And just as Cyrus, or the sun, came to conquer over Babylon and release God's people to rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, so will the true Son of Righteousness, Jesus Christ, come to destroy this modern system of Babylon, deliver God's people, and establish His church forever. May we all choose to be on the side of Jesus Christ, the one who will be the grand victor in this epic great struggle between truth and error. I pray that you choose to be on the right side. This has been Kenneth Moore from Zion's Watchman Media, and as always, until next time.